Under the starlit skies of the Mikado Reserve, where the African savanna stretches as wide as the Montana plains, a story of compassion unfolded that could melt the heart of a seasoned rancher. 3 years ago, Daniel, a rookie ranger with the courage of a volunteer firefighter, patrolled the marshlands at night, his boots sinking into mud as thick as a Midwest creek bed. Guided by a faint whimper crackling through his radio, he trekked 2 miles to find a lion cub, no bigger than a 20-pound dog, its hind leg caught in a wire snare. Blood dripped onto the grass, each tug tightening the trap's cruel grip. Daniel's heart raced. Lions could weigh up to 400 pounds, and the mother was likely near, ready to pounce like a linebacker defending his turf. Armed with only a knife and gloves, he knelt in the moonlight, sweat beading on his brow like dew on a summer morning. Most would have backed away, fearing a mauling, but Daniel saw a life worth saving, much like a small-town vet tending to an injured stray. He moved slowly, avoiding eye contact, his hands steady as he cut the wire, freeing the cub's trembling leg. A deep growl rumbled behind him, stopping his breath. The lioness stood mere feet away, her eyes glowing like lanterns in a storm. Yet she didn't charge. She watched, silent, as if measuring his soul. When the cub, free at last, limped forward and rubbed its head against Daniel's knee, gentle as a puppy at a county fair, time seemed to pause. It wasn't just gratitude, it was trust, raw and unshakable, like a neighbor thanking you after a barn raising. Daniel backed away, the lioness giving him one final look before vanishing with her cub into the dawn's mist. That night, under an acacia tree as sturdy as a hometown oak, Daniel didn't just save a cub, he forged a bond deeper than any trophy hunt. Like Americans rallying to rebuild after a tornado, his compassion bridged the wild divide, planting a seed of connection that would one day return to him in a moment of dire need, proving that kindness can tame even the fiercest hearts. In the blistering heart of the Mikado Reserve, where the African savanna bakes under a sun as relentless as a Texas heatwave, a story of nature's reciprocity unfolded that could rival the most gripping tale told around a Wyoming campfire. Daniel, a seasoned ranger with the instincts of a backcountry guide, found himself 10 miles from base, his 20-pound backpack heavy and his water bottle nearly dry. Tracking a bloody snare trap, he followed lion paw prints, each as wide as a baseball, through thickets stretching across acres of scorched earth. But exhaustion hit like a freight train. His legs buckled, and he collapsed under an acacia tree, its shade as fleeting as a Midwest summer breeze. At 6 feet tall, Daniel was no stranger to the wild, but now 100 miles from help, his heart pounded like a drum, vision fading as he passed out, unaware that a pride of 4 lions, a 400-pound male, 2 females, and a cub, was closing in. When he awoke, pain stabbed his neck, and their heavy breaths, just 5 feet away, froze him in terror. Cold sweat soaked his shirt, like a hiker caught in a Colorado storm, expecting a deadly strike. Yet the lioness's eyes didn't snarl. They shimmered with recognition, like a long-lost friend at a high school reunion. 3 years ago, Daniel had saved her cub from a wire snare, risking his life under her watchful gaze. Now that cub, grown but limping slightly, sat among the pride, its pale yellow fur glowing in the dusk like a lantern on a porch. Instead of claws, the lions offered something unthinkable: protection. They circled Daniel, not as prey but as kin, their silence as steady as a farmer guarding his land. As night fell, the savanna turned chilling, like a Nebraska winter, and Daniel's hope hung by a thread. He was too weak to move, his radio dead, stranded like a sailor lost at sea. But the lions didn't waver. Their calm presence felt like a small-town community rallying after a flood, a testament to a bond forged in compassion. The lioness, her eyes locked on his, seemed to say, "We remember you." It was as if nature itself was repaying a debt, much like Americans honoring a veteran's service years later. Daniel lay still, heart racing with awe, realizing he wasn't facing predators, but guardians who saw him as one of their own. This wasn't just survival, it was a miracle of trust, proving that a single act of kindness, like freeing a cub under moonlight, could ripple back across years, saving a man's life in the wild. as profound as a neighbor's help rebuilding a barn after a tornado. In the vast Mikado Reserve, where the African savanna sprawls like the open plains of Oklahoma, Daniel, a ranger with the grit of a Colorado trailblazer, faced a night that could have been his last, saved by an astonishing act of protection against danger. After collapsing 10 miles from his base, his 20-pound backpack useless and water gone, Daniel lay unconscious under an acacia tree, the sun scorching the earth like a blast furnace. At 6 feet tall, he was no rookie, but dehydration hit hard, leaving him stranded 100 miles from help, his radio silent as a broken CB. As he faded, a pride of 4 lions, a 400-pound male, 2 females, and a cub closed in, their paw prints wide as dinner plates, marking the dust. When Daniel awoke, their breaths just 5 feet away sent chills down his spine, like a hiker spotting a grizzly in Yellowstone. Expecting a deadly strike, he froze, sweat pooling like rain on a tarp. But the lioness, her eyes calm as a pastor's gaze, sparked a memory of saving her cub from a snare 3 years prior. Night fell, chilling the air like a Minnesota winter, and with it came true peril. Hyenas, snarling like alley dogs, crept from the bushes, their cackles slicing the darkness like a horror movie soundtrack. A pack of 6, drawn by Daniel's scent, circled closer, their eyes glinting like warning lights on a deserted highway. Too weak to stand, Daniel clenched his fists, bracing for a gruesome end, his heart pounding like a jackhammer. But then, a roar erupted, loud as a 4th of July cannon. The male lion surged forward, his mane flaring like a warrior's flag, while the lionesses crouched, ready to strike like linebackers. Forming a circle around Daniel, tighter than a small-town posse, they became a fortress of fur and fury. When one hyena, bold as a bandit, lunged with a shriek, the lioness pounced, her bite swift as a rattlesnake's strike, sending the beast tumbling. The pack scattered, their cackles fading into the night like a retreating storm. Daniel watched, jaw dropped, as if witnessing a miracle at a tent revival. These lions, who could have torn him apart, stood guard instead, their golden forms glowing under a blood-red sky like statues in a sacred grove. It was as if the savanna itself had repaid Daniel's past kindness, much like neighbors rallying to protect a family after a wildfire. Through the long, cold hours, the pride never wavered, their presence as steady as a lighthouse beam, ensuring Daniel's survival until dawn's light brought his ranger team. This wasn't just a close call. It was proof that compassion, once given, can return as a shield, fierce as a soldier's vow, saving a life when all seems lost. In the sprawling Mikado Reserve, where the African savanna stretches like the endless fields of Kansas, Daniel, a ranger with the heart of a park guide leading tourists through Yosemite, survived a night of peril through the unspoken power of trust. 10 miles from his base, weighed down by a 20-pound backpack and out of water, Daniel followed a bloody snare trail under a sun that burned like a forge. At 6 feet tall, he was seasoned, but exhaustion struck like a rogue wave, dropping him under an acacia tree 100 miles from rescue. His radio was dead, his throat dry as a desert creek bed, and as his vision blurred, he passed out, unaware that a pride of 4 lions, a 400-pound male, 2 females, and a cub, was circling, their paw prints wide as hubcaps in the dust. When he awoke, their breaths, just 5 feet away, hit like a jolt in a thunderstorm, his sweat cold as a Montana frost. Expecting claws, Daniel lay still, heart racing like a stock car. But the lioness's gaze, steady as a lighthouse, stirred a memory from 3 years back, when he'd freed her cub from a wire snare. Risking attack under moonlight, he'd cut the trap with a knife, the cub trusting him enough to nuzzle his knee, like a stray dog at a county fair. Now those same eyes met his, calm, not cruel, as if saying, "We know you." This trust, built on a single act of compassion, became his lifeline. As night cloaked the savanna, chilling the air like a Dakota winter, hyenas, snarling like junkyard mutts, closed in, their cackles sharp as broken glass. Daniel, too weak to move, braced for the end, stranded like a hiker lost in the Rockies. Yet the lions didn't flinch. Forming a circle tighter than a small-town prayer group, they stood guard, their silence as firm as a soldier's salute. When a hyena charged, the lioness struck, swift as a hawk, scattering the pack like leaves in a gale. Daniel's jaw dropped, like a kid seeing fireworks for the first time, realizing he wasn't prey but protected. This wasn't about strength, his knife and gloves were long gone, but about a bond forged in respect, as enduring as a farmer's handshake. The lion's trust, born under that moonlit snare, held fast. Their golden forms a barrier against death, much like neighbors boarding up a home before a hurricane. Through the night, they stayed, unwavering as a flagpole, until dawn brought rangers to find Daniel alive. The lions parting like a curtain at a play's end. His survival, marked by a single paw print in the dirt, proved that trust, not force, can conquer the wild. A lesson as timeless as a family recipe shared across generations. In the untamed expanse of the Mikado Reserve, where the African savanna rolls like the prairies of South Dakota, Daniel's encounter with a pride of lions left a legacy of respect as enduring as a monument carved in the Black Hills. 10 miles from base, his 20-pound backpack dragging and water bottle empty, Daniel, a 6-foot ranger with the resolve of a trailblazer, collapsed under an acacia tree, scorched by a sun fiercer than a Nevada desert. Tracking a snare's bloody trail 100 miles from help, he'd passed out. Radio silent, unaware that 4 lions, a 400-pound male, 2 females, and a cub, watched, their paw prints wide as softballs in the dust. Awakening to their breaths 5 feet away, Daniel braced for death, his heart pounding like a rodeo bull's. But the lioness's gaze, calm as a pastor's prayer, recalled a night 3 years prior when he'd freed her cub from a wire trap, risking attack with only a knife under a moonlit marsh. That cub, now grown, its legs slightly limping, stood before him, a bond of trust glowing like a campfire. When hyenas, snarling like street dogs, crept in under a blood-red sky, the lions circled Daniel, guarding him like a small-town sheriff protects his own, driving the pack off with a roar loud as a 4th of July finale. At dawn, rangers found him alive, the lions parting like a parade dispersing, leaving a single paw print in the dirt, a mark as sacred as a veteran's medal. Recovering in an infirmary, Daniel gazed across grasslands swaying like wheat fields, spotting the lioness's limping silhouette on a hill, their eyes meeting like old friends at a reunion. "I was saved by the creatures we call predators," he told his team, his smile faint as a sunset's glow, scratches and sunburn his only scars. That paw print, pressed beside where he lay, became his story's emblem, a testament to respect over force, like a farmer sparing a wolf to save his land. Weeks later, walking the reserve's edge under a sky clear as a Montana morning, Daniel saw the grown cub on a mound, their glance a nod of mutual honor, like neighbors tipping hats after a barn raising. He turned away, carrying a truth as heavy as a harvest. In the wild, survival hinges not on guns or grit, but on compassion, as steady as a flag raised at dawn. Daniel's tale, whispered among rangers like a legend at a hunting lodge, reshaped how they saw the savannah, not as a battleground but a place of give and take, much like Americans planting trees after a wildfire. His legacy endures, a reminder that respect once offered can echo back, binding man and beast in a pact as timeless as a river carving a canyon, forever shaping the heart of the wild. Daniel's chilling encounter with a pride of lions teaches us lessons as vital as a compass on a wilderness trail. First, compassion builds bridges. By freeing a cub from a snare, Daniel earned the lion's trust, proving that kindness, like helping a stranger with a flat tire, can forge unexpected allies. In our lives, small gestures, like checking on a coworker or donating to a food drive, can create bonds that lift us up later. Second, respect is stronger than force. Daniel's calm approach, not weapons, won the lion's loyalty, much like listening patiently in a heated debate can turn foes into friends. At home or work, respecting others' perspectives fosters harmony over conflict. Third, trust can save us in crisis. The lions guarded Daniel from hyenas, showing that past goodwill, think of mentoring a kid or volunteering, can return when we're down. Finally, nature rewards empathy. Daniel's survival, marked by a lone paw print, reminds us to care for our world, like planting a tree or saving a park. Let's live with open hearts, knowing respect and kindness, like seeds in a garden, grow into hope that endures.